Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pits of Metalcast. It's your host, Dave. Got along me special guest, guitarist from Renegade, Paul Finley. How's it going, Paul?
Super and duper, Dave. Thank you.
So, Paul, you guys just did a couple of shows. The first one with Reunited Realm. How'd that show go?
It was just absolutely awesome. We loved it. As soon as I woke up that day, I was nervous energy the whole time, because just to play in front of a great crowd again with that band and just to see all of our old buddies, all the guys from Realm and Last Crack, we kind of grew up together for a time and couldn't wait to get in and get going and play.
Now, how was that venue? I've never been there yet.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, how is that venue? I've never been up to that venue yet.
It was excellent. Years ago, it's actually been a live music venue. Gosh, back in the mid-'80s, it was called the Attic West. And then T.A. Burns was just down the road from there. And then T.A. Burns was the main place there through latter half of the '80s, mid-'90s. And but also, we got this new place again called Rock Country. And excellent sound and light system. And then we had our own sound man working the front house that night. Mike Babcock did an amazing job for both us and Last Crack, and then Last Crack had Paul Peters doing sound for them. So yes, it was a excellent system in excellent hands.
So how long did you guys play that night?
We played 45 minutes, I guess.
And how'd your set go? Went good?
Yes, it did. We all four of us live in different states, so it doesn't make it easy to practice. And so we practiced for a couple of days ahead of time as, both myself and Brad Hazelton, the drummer, flew in. He lives in Arizona, and I live in Texas. And Randy lives in Illinois, Rick in Wisconsin, so we met at Rick's place, practiced for a couple of days, and then we played. We thankfully have done a few reunion shows. They seem to average out about once every 8-10 years or so, something to that effect. And we've all kept up playing professionally. Both, let's see, 3 of the 4 of us have, releases out with our own respective bands or solo recordings. And so we've all stayed active playing.
So how was the Reunited Realm? How'd they sound?
They sounded awesome. Couldn't believe it. Those guys have played together as a unit, for 25, 26 years. And of course, Paul Leganowski passed away, which was,
right,
an integral part, really, of the evening. Obviously, an integral part of Realm. And Realm was such an influence on us. They were already doing, like, when we met Realm, that was the end of 1986, and we had our first tape out at the beginning, and they kind of were already doing what we were on the way to learning of doing. They're obviously a number of years older than us, and Realm sounded great. Mark's singing was amazing. I think the guys who sing rather in those bands had it the hardest because it's obviously everybody sang high back then, and then you add 30 years to your life, and your voice naturally gets lower. Dio, he would sing a little lower. They'd start tuning down as his last number of years the performing went, and that's just pretty typical of anybody's voice.
Yeah. So then after that, you guys played the NYDM Spring Bash. How'd that one go?
That was great. It was, it was kind of what we expected as far as it was kind of chaotic because, you have these multi-band festivals. Set changeovers are like, you've got 20 minutes total, but 10 minutes of that is the band who just played, getting their stuff off, and then you've got 10 minutes to get your stuff together, and then bam, you play. You're using gear that's likely not yours, and so that part is just sort of you ride it out as best you can. There was a friend at both shows, and he was saying that our set at the Realm reunion gig was cleaner and tighter by comparison, whereas the NYDM festival show was higher energy, but a little more rough or jagged in the sense of like sound issues and stuff like that. And that's fine. I think we did great in all things considering, and it was great. We won over a lot of new fans. Renegade, I don't think ever we felt comfortable fitting in festivals with a lot of death or thrash bands per se, or push more along the death metal subgenres, and so and there's going to be a lot of heavy thrash or metal, black metal stuff on that bill for the NYDM, and just kind of realized, hey, let's just let's be us. Hopefully, what we do is a breath of fresh air, and thankfully, everyone that was there was really into it. Highly complimentary, very positive vibe. I was complimenting Randy Kastner on that. He's the guy who set up the show, the festival, rather, and promoter and all of that. And what a great positive energy everybody was giving off. There wasn't egos to blast through, and none of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's what I always like about Randy's Spring Bash Daily. He always has a big variety of genres of rock, metal, like you said, death metal, thrash metal, but they always go over well because the fans seem to be pretty diverse on their music.
Yeah, it's refreshing, because as far as me playing metal festivals, that's been 25 years or whatever it was since we were last doing Renegade stuff, and so it's great to see that. That was a major new factor or element in noticing how we've all behaved. All of us guys in the bands and just us within Renegade personally. We've all lived 25, 30 years, and you learn a lot when you become a parent, married, when you have someone close to you pass away. It definitely gives you a lot of compassion for someone else. You don't look to yourself first anymore. You're looking after whoever it is that's around you. And so everyone was really accommodating, and just really grateful for that. It was a beautiful growth in maturity, and that was welcome, may sound rather adult of me to say that, but it was a really beautiful thing, just how much we've all grown up as people, and still are really closely connected.
So now, Spring Bash, what did you guys do, about 30 minutes?
Yes, 30, 35 minutes, something like that.
So now, let's talk about the band Renegade now. Let's talk about the history of the band. You guys started what year? 1980 what?
We started in 1985, August.
Now, who formed the band?
That was Randy, Rick, and Brad. They all went to high school together, and Randy and Rick are brothers. So they were already playing, and again, everybody's still in high school, so you're just still learning your craft, for crying out loud. Rick, he found me through an ad at a music store because the band I was in was wrapping up, and or no, we weren't. We were looking actually for a new bass player, and then Rick responded to that ad, but it turns out then that band that I was in folded, and then Rick said, "Hey, why don't you come jam with us?" I'm jamming with my brother and another guy, and so that's how we started out. We're all I just started high school. The guys were 16. I was 15, and Rick, he was the old guy at 17. Drive Ford LTD, man. Woo! 4-door, snow tires on it year round. It was a beast.
So now, what year did you start playing guitar?
I started playing guitar in 1982. I was 12 years old. And Randy played piano growing up. And speak for the other guys, But I think they all took like band in high school and things like that. Um, so yeah, eventually I started out taking lessons right away, and I actually got the idea to go to music school from Cliff Burton. I'd read somewhere that he actually had gone to music school. I'm like, really? I love Cliff playing. I just thought he was wonderful. I was such a Metallica freak. Those first 3 albums, I learned all those things cover to cover, rhythm parts. I say James Hetfield taught me rhythm, and Kirk Hammett taught me lead. And when Master Puppets came out, they came to Milwaukee and did a record signing. And so the band was there, and that was just amazing meeting my heroes. And I asked Cliff about that. I said, hey, heard you went to a music school. I said, yeah, I got a 2-year program, or a 2-year degree rather, and it took some jazz theory from another guy. It's good stuff. He pointed at me, and I'm like, wow, huh. So that planted the seed, and eventually went on to the Wisconsin Conservatory of Music, and I ended up teaching there too. But yeah, it was Cliff who gave me the idea to go to school for music.
So now you give guitar lessons out there where you live?
Yeah, I've always taught all these years. I've been teaching since I was 16, either privately or, at music stores, the Wisconsin Conservatory of Music, or other schools here in Austin, of all sorts of different configurations, private lessons, adults, kids, everywhere, and anything. There's a band I was in the mid-2000s called Spoken Groove, and we'd do guitar clinics and things like that when we were on the road.
So now, currently out there in Texas, do you play in a band out there?
I'm a working musician, so I don't have a steady band. There's a cover band I play with called Trainwreck Shipping Company, and that's just playing, classic rock, 80s, 90s covers, stuff like that. I do a lot of solo work, at banquets. There'll be solo acoustic, a lot of steel string stuff. Guys like Michael Hedges, Phil Keaggy are big, I'm fans of or influenced by. And so that leaves me flexible to do weddings, dinners, choir work. I do duet singer-songwriter stuff with my girlfriend, Sharon. She's a wonderful singer. And, all sorts of one-off gigs. So, yeah, it's far more scattered, if you will, which doesn't make things easier, but it keeps me flexible, I have to do that in order to survive. So, I've never been able to make a living off of playing solely my original music. There's always had to been some kind of teaching or other kind of side work. Even if I was back off the road, then I had to get some kind of work while I was home. And that's just the way the cards have played out for me. Some people are able to make it work and do licensing and things like that, but I've never been able to make a living off of that. So it frustrates me oftentimes, certainly, but that's the hand I got dealt with.
Yeah. So, Paul, what guitar players were your big influences?
Like I said, James Hetfield and Kirk Hammett were huge. I just ate those suckers up. Loved digging into the detail of all of that. And Randy Rhoads was probably my first guitar hero, Of course, Jimi Hendrix and, these guys that had that flash, but also that personality. In the 80s, you had a lot of shred that came out on Mike Varney's, I think that was Shrapnel Records, I think.
Right, yeah.
And, but a lot of that was actually kind of bored me after, 10 minutes, because it would just be flash and speed all the time, no melodicism and songs. I love great guitar playing, but I love great songs too. And, so guys like Joe Satriani, who actually reached, some commercial or wider appeal, commercial success and wider appeal, because they could actually, get some kind of song structured, around their guitar and so forth. Jimmy was a package deal, of course. You know, he had the look, he had the charisma, he had the sounds and inventiveness. But Randy Rhoads had a lot of that too in his, you know, his idiom. And Michael had his acoustic guitar player. He was kind of reinvented the steel string guitar, and he was like the Hendrix of the steel string guitar, where, you know, just no one thought to play the thing like that. It's like, oh my God, what's that? It's, you know, blew my mind, and like, oh, I got to figure that out. And yeah, Jeff Beck these days is a big inspiration as far as just making the guitar a voice. You know, when he plays, it's like a living thing, and it just becomes its own beautiful entity. You know, it's as expressive as any singer could be. You know.
How about Gary Moore?
Gary Moore, certainly listened to him. He was an influence there for a time. I never delved into him deeply, but when he went solo in the early mid '80s, I really liked that stuff, especially. You know, he went into a blues direction as well, and did a lot of great stuff with the Blues for Greenie album. And certainly, you know, I was a Finley fan once I discovered them. But I always loved two guitar bands. You know, like Renegade, we all were big fans of the new wave of British heavy metal stuff. All the Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Scorpions, any of these two guitar bands, and then Realm and Last Crack were great two guitar bands. Wrath was another band from Chicago area that really worked well together with two guitar players. And once I kind of figured that thing out with harmonies and locked in rhythm and lead parts over each other, I always was really into those kind of bands, except, you know, they always had two cool guitar players that were working great together. A lot of the Euro metal stuff, and I should mention Michael Schenker, too, was another, you know, beautiful guitar player. He could make that thing sing, and it was this beautiful voice and, you know, warm tone. And, you know, he could and all that, but he could really take you somewhere, too, you know.
Now, how about a guy like Uli?
Uli is great, too. I've never grasped onto him as much as some of the others. I had his, might have been the Electric Sun album, and then a live recording, too, from the same era, in '85, and some of his work with the Scorpions, too, I really liked. All that early Scorpion stuff, too, with Uli, or with Michael Schenker, Animal Magnetism, all that stuff. Really dig that. And I think, was it the singing? Maybe I didn't dig as much with the Uli solo stuff, but yeah, he too, these Euro metal guys, Richie Blackmore, Uli, Michael Schenker, they all brought in that European sense of melody and harmony structures that were different than the American guys, and I really liked that. And Randy Rhoads had that, you know, had that classical melodicism that was always really beautiful to listen to.
So now, what bands were the big influences for Renegade?
Definitely all those new wave of British heavy metal bands. Again, a lot of stuff out of, you know, late 70s, early mid 80s, because that was our formative years. So again, you know, Judas Priest was a biggie, Iron Maiden for sure, Metallica, Dio, those ones in particular really stood out. You know, we did some of the other like pop metal of the day, Motley Crue, Dokken, stuff like that. We did that a little bit early in our playing, and then, you know, but the Metallica bug really hit hard, you know, and like that faster energy. And then the image thing, you know, like by '85, Theater Pain had come out, and things got very glam in their image, and the sounds were more produced. And I never found that particularly attractive. So I love the energy of the whole thrash underground scene. You know, all the early Anthrax, Dark Angel, Slayer, Metallica, bands that were on the Import, I think it was Import Records. just that whole underground scene was very cool. That was kind of my thing, and we had WMSE in Milwaukee, which is a college radio station there that was playing all of this stuff. And as small as Milwaukee is, it was like there was a really good kind of harmony there between a good local radio station and local concert promoters, love them or hate them. But Jack Koshik would put on a bunch of shows at the Odd Rock or then the big metal fests as those started to come into form in the late 80s. And then that gave bands like Realm and ourselves and a bunch of others, kind of a platform where we could put out a record but then get it played somewhere and have somewhere to play, So that was a pretty cool, special time. And, we were from Waukesha, which is west Milwaukee, and we were all underage, so we couldn't. But we did start playing in bars long before we were of age. But we would do a lot of all-age shows. We would rent out halls, like a VFW hall or some kind of expo hall or arena and bowling alley hall, stuff like that, and just put on these shows on our own, And we'd usually get kicked out because the owners would freak out because kids were running around going bonkers, and so then we have to find somewhere else to play. But we kind of created our own circuit out there, which is pretty. I admire it now better. Looking back on it, it's like, man, we put together something on our own there. It was kind of its own little scene. So pretty industrious, especially for still being in high school.
Yeah, I remember the Jack Koshik Milwaukee Metal Fest. That was pretty tiring by then, and I start seeing bands starting like 10 or 11 in the morning, going all the way till like 2 or 3 in the morning. By the end of the night, I was exhausted.
I can only imagine. Yeah, we would. I went to the first couple of those. King Diamond was one of the headliners early on. It was great. I got to see a bunch of bands, kind of all in their heyday too.
Yeah.
And we'd get there. I would see probably 4 or 5 bands, something like that, at a given night.
I remember seeing Flotsam and Jetsam at the Milwaukee Metal Fest.
Yep, I saw that show. That was when they got the new bass player. Then of course Trouble, I think, played that same night. Sanctuary. I don't know if Flotsam opened up for King Diamond or what. That line, that's a little blurry. I'd have to see a list of the lineup again. But
there you go. Trouble. That's another good dual guitar playing band.
Yeah, exactly. Black Sabbath thing is what they had, but 2 guitars, and that was, I think, probably some kind of influence on Realm and or Prophet, which is Tyke's band before Realm, I believe, and or Fallout, where him and Paul Aganowski were playing together. Pre-Realm with Mark singing in that band as well, so that was, these concentric circles of these bands working together and learning from each other as well.
Now you remember the band Tyrant's Reign?
Sure do, yeah.
That was another good band.
Yeah, we played with them a couple of times as well. We didn't get to play in Chicago. We could never crack that market, and which is always frustrating. But some of the bands, like I say, Wrath or Tyrant's Reign, Annihilate, they were from Springfield, Illinois, I think, possibly, or somewhere in Rock County. But those Northern Illinois bands were rubbing elbows with too, and always enjoyed that. I remember Gobby, their drummer, was an excellent drummer.
Oh yeah. So now, do you have any idea how the guys came up with the name Renegade?
Well, yeah. I believe that was Randy, and he, I think, got it from some cartoon or something like that. The Renegades, I think it was part of some other cartoon, but for the life of me, I can't remember what, if it was like, what the heck was his name? He-Man or something. I don't even remember. But, yeah, Randy came up with that. And, of course, there was a million Renegades out there. And that's why we changed the name in later years to Mas Optica. When we played at the NYDM Festival, just, a couple of weeks ago or a week ago, there was a guy there, and he was talking with me, complimenting me on my guitar playing. We were talking guitar players. He's like, yeah, I was actually in a band called Renegade as well, probably about 6-7 years before you guys came around. And then we too, had to change our name. And I just had to laugh because, even in Milwaukee, right at this time, there is another band under the name Renegade playing, rock music. And it's just kind of funny how that name keeps coming up. So it's sort of like Kiss. It's like, the name is bigger than the individual members at this point, let's say, just as a gag. But, yeah, that was always an issue. So, hence we changed the name.
So the other Renegade in Wisconsin, is that like that country rock band?
I don't even know. I haven't looked them up to listen to them online. I've just seen their name around in Google searches.
Like when I was searching for Renegade on Google, it gave me a Renegade from Wisconsin. It was like it says country. So I'm assuming that's the band.
I would assume, like even when I did so when Heaven and Hell re-released our first two demos under the Social Pressure CD that came out the end of last year. Their primary market is Eastern Europe, and so for our Facebook page, I decided, okay, we're going to have to get an online presence again, or period, and people can look us up if they want to find out more about the band. So Renegade by itself wasn't going to fly because there's 8 million other things under the name Renegade if you do Google or a search for Facebook pages. So I used Renegade USA just to kind of help give some distinction for us.
Yeah. So now to this date now, Paul, how many guitars you own right now?
I'm never a big collector of guitars. I've never had the money, so I've always had to work with what I've got. I have maybe 3 electrics and 3-ish acoustics that I use. Maybe a few other spare types floating around. I like to play a lot of instruments too for recording purposes. Bass, mandolin, Native American flute, other percussion instruments, things like that. But I've always had just a couple of key guitars. I have a nice Gibson V that I love playing these days. It's just a bad boy. It sounds like $1 million, and didn't feel safe flying with it. I didn't want to get it stolen in flight or damaged in flight. It's just too valuable and nice of a guitar to fly with. So we'll like to have used it at the Renegade reunion, but instead I just used my first old Focus Kramer. It's kind of a Frankenstein, but it's always been a very reliable, excellent guitar. So that's what I used, the old standby.
So now Renegade's only put out one full length, right?
That's correct. So we had our first demo, which is called The Beginning, which is a 5-song tape, and that was released in October 1986. And then we recorded Social Pressure, which was a full-length album. All the songs were like 6 to 8 minutes, so there was 8 tracks, but it was certainly a full length. And we recorded it in early 1988. It didn't get released until a year later because it never got picked up. We were trying to get it signed, of course, so we had to release it on our own. And then we did some more demos, and then eventually put out a full length under Mas Optica on Red Decibel Records. That was released in the States and in Europe. And then that was it. We could never get distribution squared away to do a second record with Mas Optica on Red Decibel. And sorry, I was going to add something to this mix here, but it's gone.
So what's been your fondest memory of Renegade?
Fondest memory. Hmm. Um, well, I tell you, these recent shows were beautifully bonding and just a great time. I think the reunion show in particular was kind of one once in a lifetime kind of nights. I hope to have more of those, but like I say, seeing all of these friends, family, and fans. It's like Realm and Renegade, and Last Crack. We've all had fans that like all three bands or are close to two of them, and so on. So, it was a perfect critical mass of all three of those bands that could all draw from a great pool of people. And again, we did so many shows together, especially with Realm. But we were both big fans of Last Crack and Realm. The reunion show was certainly a highlight because we're all alive, and there's we never had any issues with band infighting and stuff like that. So it was just great to see our old friends and play together again, and to spend some time hanging out like we always used to.
All right. So now, Paul, what's been your most embarrassing moment in the band?
Most embarrassing moment in the band. Thankfully there hasn't been anything particularly bad, with the exception of a gag guys pulled with when we made a video for the song Trust with Mas Optica. With Mas Optica, it's the exact same four guys, by the way. Just to clarify that. So we shot this video in Minneapolis, and we had to wait to see an edit. And this is 1994. And so the guys, somebody, there was our sound man who pulled a fast one where he took a video and put a porno to the audio, and instead of the actual video footage, sent it up to a friend in Minneapolis, who then in turn mailed it back to us. So they had a Minneapolis return address. Funny. But then I'm like, oh, I want to see the video, but I hadn't seen the video yet, and I assumed they gave me the copy of the footage we shot.
Right.
And Mom and Dad wanted to see it, and I'm like, oh, sure, here you go. And I wasn't able to watch it at the moment, and they put it in, and then, of course, this porno came on with the music, and after about 10 seconds, they're like, Paul, I'm in another room working on something, and they said, Paul, somebody's played, I think, a practical joke on you, and I'm like, oh, my God. So that was definitely a low light, but was certainly a funny story relating around amongst us again on this reunion show. But I always just like to stick my head in the sand like an ostrich and just forget about the whole thing.
All right. So now, after all the years being in the music business, now what would you say are the pros and cons of the music business?
Oh God, that's a loaded subject, dear friend. You probably know that as well.
Yeah.
It's pros and cons. Well, it always forces you to grow. That's for sure. And it can eat you alive. You can be treated like a product. And some people hit it big and can navigate through it. It's really hard to say, like I've seen people, I don't know if it's the combination of luck of the draw, good looks, talent. Talent alone doesn't guarantee you anything other than enjoying what you do. And, I wish we could have been much more successful or had a better foot in the door with playing venues and recording contract situations and stuff like that. But we loved what we did, and I wouldn't change it. A lot. The music business can really alter people. They can get really bitter by it. it boy, like I say, it's a big subject, and some people fare well with it, some don't. Some people, hang on as best they can. It's a very much a changing world right now in the music business as far as how you make money and that kind of thing. And, record sales tanking because people don't buy a product like they used to. Scott Ian is a really good autobiography that exemplifies how things changed from his Anthrax days in the 80s to how they are now. And he talks about that really well. I can relate. But like I say, that's, the way things went for us is the way things went for us. And thankfully, we got to play the music that we wanted to, and can be proud of it, or, not proud of it maybe, or, there's some things you can stand from your past and some things you can't. I've always been what would we say, the word I'm looking for, sentimental. So I always love looking back on all that stuff. And like I say, I'm proud of it myself, and had a great time when we got to learn and grow. It was an awesome way to grow up together and get out and travel and see how people think and act differently than you do. And that's an awesome learning experience. So, yeah, that's my take on it.
So who was the main lyric writer for the band?
That would have been Randy. He wrote almost all the lyrics. And there's a number of things that I wrote or helped write. But yeah, that was, he did the singing, so I only wrote a couple of things.
Now, how about the music? Who wrote all the music?
That was always a shared thing, primarily between Randy and I. And of course, the other guys would add in their 2 cents. It was, like Gojira, for example, their singer, guitar player, I can't remember his name, but he pretty much heads up that whole thing. Randy and I always worked as a team, and the band worked as a team too, and it was fun, just him and I sitting around and trying to work out songs and ideas. And sometimes, I might write everything for a song. Sometimes he might write everything for a song. But more often than not, it was some kind of partnership.
Now, do you think the band would ever get together and do any recordings?
That sure would be cool. Logistically, pretty hard. Like I say, because we all live so far apart. Randy kicked around the idea of having us play one of these songs that we did at the shows that we never recorded, and just to knock something out amongst ourselves to have it, to actually do a new album. That would be a whole another act of God, which I'd be fine with. But it would be pretty tricky. But in this day and age, who knows, maybe you could do it easier with sending files, of course, and maybe doing other online meetings and stuff like that.
So, do you think next year you guys will be doing any more shows?
Nothing's on the table, so unfortunately, I can't say there is. I wish, but that's where we are at today. We did these shows and had a great time, and the re-release. The re-release thankfully spawned the invite to do the NYDM festival, and since we were in town, this is by coincidence, Realm asked us to play because they were going to be inducted to the Wisconsin Area Music Industry Hall of Fame, and so they wanted to do another club show, and then they asked us and Last Crack to play, which is awesome because I was trying to work out another show with Last Crack while we were in town anyway. we had a great time playing together. And but yeah, unfortunately, I can't give anything more concrete than that right now.
That's cool. Well, Paul, I want to thank you very much for taking time to interview today.
Dave, thank you so much. For just giving us a little platform here to talk about things and just the joys that we shared. So thank you, Dave, very much.
No problem. I'm going to close the interview with the song "Dying Season."
Sweet.
So thanks again, Paul, and you have a great night. And hopefully, we'll see you guys out there again sometime.
I hope so, Dave. Thank you.
All right, you have a great night, Paul.
And you too. Thanks again, Dave.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Number 3 will come and take you. Number 3 will take you